Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Total Biscuit. I'd like to give you my impressions of Wolfenstein: The New Order that I played at PAX Prime 2013. This was the demo that they had on display for press, and currently the game has actually been pushed back to 2014, so they have a little bit of time to actually handle this one. But I'd like to tell you what I experienced. So, I like Wolfenstein a lot. It's a series that I've been very much invested in, including Wolfenstein 2009 that a lot of people didn't like. I thought it had a lot of interesting ideas. Of course, it was brought to you by Raven, who generally do a damn good job of such things, and I was happy with the hub-based world that they did. I was happy with the supernatural powers. The gunplay was pretty solid overall. It was a fun game. So when I heard about Wolfenstein New Order, it sounded pretty cool, considering they were going with the whole idea of kind of World War II never ends, and as a direct result, there's a lot more crazy stuff, including mech technology that comes into play. So I did get to sit down with it, and unfortunately my first impressions didn't exactly start off very well, and it seems to be because the game is playing it way too safe with the way that it actually presents its content. So let me tell you exactly how it does that and why it's actually a problem. So, the demo opens with you climbing up a wall. Yeah? You're essentially climbing up this wall on a rope, which is a little bit of an interesting perspective change, because obviously climbing up a wall, you've got Nazis sort of popping out of windows, you then shoot them, then fall past you, which is a little bit strange. It's kind of neat. The controls are weird, to say the least. You can't just press up, you've actually kind of got to press sideways to take steps. It's a very linear, very on-rails kind of section, and it's just the shooting gallery. So, climb up there, everything's cool, and you finally get into the castle, and you're separated from your group, so you get a little bit of freedom to run around, and this is the strongest part of the demo. The problem is it only lasts for about 3 minutes until you get back into the other stuff. So you're able to run around shooting Nazis, as you might expect. It does have a basic stealth system in play, so you can perform stealth kills with the knife. Wouldn't be the first Wolfenstein game where you could actually do that. And you can also dual-wield assault rifles, which is rather interesting to say the least. They seem to have taken a little bit of inspiration from the old game covers for the Wolfenstein titles, where you see BJ Blazkowicz just with tons of guns, you know, big muscled guy just dual-wielding miniguns and nonsense like that. So you can actually dual-wield assault rifles. They don't handle that well as a direct result. They kick up completely, so there is actually a reason not to do that, which is kind of cool, and obviously it disables your aim-down sights. Admittedly, I saw no reason the entire demo to actually use aim-down sights. It was entirely fine just to shoot from the hip, so that worked fine. You can also dual-wield pistols and a couple of other things like that. In the first area of the game, you only get a couple of different weapons. You get Lugers, you can dual wield them. You get assault rifles, and you also get access to grenades. So you shoot your way through there, and you actually find treasure, which is interesting. You know, the standard kind of Wolfenstein idea of you find some treasure around the place, and you can also pick up health. So it seems to me like what we're going to be seeing over the next couple of years is a shift away from basic regenerating health systems towards number-based health systems with some kind of caveat involved in them. So in this case, what we've got is a health system that only partially regenerates you. Yeah. Now, the way that you get the rest of your health and also your armor is you can pick it up from fallen soldiers, and you can also pick up food on tables and things like that. What you can do is you can overcharge your health, which is kind of a Quake 3 mechanic. The idea that if you grab extra pieces of health, you go over the 100 limit, but it sort of ticks down, right? So like Mega Health in Quake 3 Arena. So you can do that. Can't do it for much. You're going to maybe overcharge about 10-15% at most, but it's a nice little feature, and if you keep killing, it enables you to keep your health very high indeed. And that's a pretty cool system. The actual regeneration is quite slow, and it'll regenerate up to, I think it regenerates to about 60, from what I could tell. At one point it stopped at 40, another point it stopped at 60. It may be due to how much health you currently have. Maybe that influences how much you can then go up to. It's not the first game to use this system, but I expect there'll be an awful lot more of that, because most games seem to be moving away from the whole idea of no health bar, blood on screen, so real nonsense, which is good. I appreciate that. Gunplay was solid. I was playing with a 360 pad, so, you know, it is what it is. It's hard to determine just how good it will work with a keyboard and mouse. Hopefully very well, but you never know with these ports. And at that point, I was able to shoot my way through that bit, and I was kind of having a good time, honestly. I was able to explore a couple of back rooms, I found some treasure and things like that, got some ammo, picked up some armor, and all that good stuff. But that lasted for about 3 minutes. And then the problems began, because we got scripted event after scripted event after scripted event, and shooting gallery after shooting gallery. And this is where things started to get really, really weak. Because, as I was saying earlier, I don't think it takes enough risks. It plays way, way too safe with its content, instead of allowing you to kind of explore the level and have a good level design. And there's where the problems begin. That little 3-minute section of just going around shooting Nazis and picking up ammo and treasure and things, that was good. But it was like 3 corridors, so it's not like you really got to do an awful lot with it. Then you get onto this ledge, and a shooting gallery begins. You can either pull the minigun off the mounting and wield it Crisis style, or you can just shoot on the turret, and it very much wants you to shoot on the turret. It really, really does, because it's a good few minutes of just shooting guys with the turret on the minigun as your squad mates, quote-unquote, conveniently enough, just far enough away that you can't actually reach them. You've seen those kind of sections before. There was another section where you climb out the window, you sort of shimmy along the window ledge, and you pop off Nazis as they walk past while you can hear your squad mates under you. You get the idea. And then it gets into the whole really bog standard Medal of Honor, Battlefield, Call of Duty, BJ Blazkowicz can't open his own doors nonsense. Tons of that, like loads of it. They will obstruct your path. These squad mates of yours are just talking about random nonsense. When you all have to make this jump, you're the last one to go, so you're kind of force-fed their dialogue lines, trying desperately to make you care about these guys who may or may not actually be in the rest of the game. Who knows? There's a British guy, there's an American guy, there's a Scotsman who's just swearing his head off. I mean, it's a gigantic pile of stereotypes when it comes down to those characters. And it keeps doing that. There's a section where you have to find a key. You can't, but you can just rifle through the drawers to find it, which is incredibly exciting FPS gameplay. It's like one room with 6 cabinets, so it's not exactly like it takes an awful lot. There's a lot of door opening stuff that you can't do. There's a lot of contrivances that say, hey, you just happen to be down there. Could you perhaps do this? And then you do that, and then something conveniently happens to allow you to get up there. And I think the worst part of it all was right towards the end of the demo, where they gave you about 5 minutes of solid cutscenes. 5 minutes of BJ Blazkowicz and his guys are captured. Death's Head is there gloating over you, saying all this kind of stuff. You eventually have to choose who dies and nonsense like that. And it's like, it's on and on and on. It doesn't help that Death's Head speaks incredibly slowly, so it lasts about twice as much as it should. There's a nice little mini-boss fight with an armored Nazi soldier, kind of in this mech suit where you shoot bits off him. That's pretty good. The actual shooting components are solid. The problem is the game, like at least the demo that they showed us, didn't trust you at all to use those shooting mechanics. Not one bit. Every single time it lets you shoot, aside from that one section, it wants you to tie you down with some kind of contrivance, whether it be the turret section, whether it be the climbing up the wall bit, whether it be the shooting galleries on the climbing up the wall bit, or the shimmy around the ledge section. There's so much of that. And then, of course, the just cutscene after cutscene, or what I like to call cutscenes in sheep's clothing, where it's not really a cutscene, but the NPCs obstruct you from moving on, so it might as well be, and you just have to wait for them to stop their bloody conversation about going to church or whatever it was that they were talking about. Yes, I'm not actually kidding, they were doing that. And that's the problem with that demo. The impression that it gives you is that they really want a very directed experience, which is exactly what they shouldn't be doing with a Wolfenstein game. They should be letting you run free with a bunch of ridiculous weapons, which they have. They have ridiculous weapons. The mistake of that demo was not to show you any of them. What about that laser that can cut holes in cover? Didn't get to play with it, you know? The most exciting thing I got was that mounted minigun. Everything else was just kind of bog standard. It was fun to shoot. It felt good. The recoil was pretty solid. It's actually a surprising amount of kick on stuff that you would think was kind of designed for a console game. Console games don't have a huge amount of kick because it's more difficult to control recoil on a gamepad than it is on, say, a mouse. You can't really compensate the way you could in, say, a game like PlanetSide or Counter-Strike. Doesn't really work as well. Recoil patterns aren't that relevant. But I was surprised to see, at least, if you're firing double assault rifles, yes, you do get that kick. And there is that element of wildness in it that says, hey, yeah, we're just willing to throw caution to the wind. But there's no point in doing that if you then tie the player down with arbitrary restrictions and say, oh, no, you can't move on until your squad mates have had this conversation. Or, hey, you can't open this door because we want the squad mates to do it, and then they're going to talk to you about all this other stuff, and all of the cutscenes are just kind of trying to instill horror in you via this really horrendously drawn-out cutscene. That is not Wolfenstein. That is not how you should be doing Wolfenstein whatsoever. and that's what worries me about it. The demo had its moments, but if that's what they were showing to the press, and that's what they wanted the press to see, then what really concerns me an awful lot is what image and what kind of impression they wish to give to people. Who are they aiming this at? Because if they want this to be along the lines of modern shooters, then I am really not holding out much hope for it. Because I saw the parts of modern shooters in that game and I hated them. And then I saw the parts of older shooters, or a little bit of innovation here and there with, say, the health system, or the fact that they're willing to throw some caution to the wind with dual-wielding assault rifles, which is silly. And then I thought, yeah, this sounds like it could be cool. Oh, look, there's a Nazi in a mech suit. That's kind of neat. Haven't really seen all that much of that before. So that's the battle that's going on in that game right now. Thankfully, the game's been pushed to 2014. That means they've got a lot of time. So let me say this to the devs of Wolfenstein. Please trust your players to be okay with not having their hands held, especially if you want to make another Wolfenstein game. We played Return to Castle Wolfenstein, we played Wolfie 2009, even Wolfie 2009 gave you a bunch of freedom, and that was more scripted than Return to Castle Wolfenstein. That's the kind of experience that I think will resonate well. If you just want to make Call of Duty in a Nazi mecha skin, then you have succeeded in doing that, and I'm already bored of it. The little set pieces, the little scripted events, the little conversations, the lots and lots of cutscenes, the attempt to instill horror when we're all very clearly jaded to that idea. Don't. This is Wolfenstein. You're not supposed to take it seriously. You have a game with a laser in it and Nazi mechs. Make the game that suits those kind of things. Make that game. Don't make Call of Duty with those assets, because it won't work. And most of what I saw in that demo demonstrated that very aptly. There was a shocking difference between the stuff that just let you run wild and the stuff that was heavily scripted, and that was all part of one sequence. And unfortunately, the stuff that was heavily scripted significantly outnumbered the stuff that wasn't. There was an awful lot more of the contrivance stuff, as opposed to explore this castle, shoot these Nazis, find this treasure, eat this delicious food. That's Wolfenstein in a nutshell. That's what I want to see. They've got time, thank God. It's not coming out this year. They've got time to take it away from its current state, and I genuinely hope they do. And if they do, I think what I've seen in it allows for the game to be a really solid title, Good shooting, decent graphics, nothing to really write home about, but pretty solid, decent weapon selection, and of course, a nice alternate history idea. Please don't screw this up. Please do not be afraid to throw caution to the wind. That is Wolfenstein in a nutshell. More Mecha Hitler, less of the scripted stuff. My name's been Total Biscuit, talking a little bit about my experiences with Wolfenstein, The New Order, which I played at PAX Prime 2013. I'll see you next time.